folks, welcome back to my channel, Relationship Anthology. In today's story, OP found out his wife cheated on him after he discovered a letter in her shoebox from the affair partner's wife that revealed shocking details of what happened. Now, OP has confronted his wife, and her life will be a wreck. Now let's get into today's story to find out what happened.
I tried posting this earlier as an explanation of what went down when everything first began, as some people have asked how this all started and how I ended up where I am now. This is not recent but started back in July of last year. I'm far removed from all of this and grateful for all the advice and encouragement. Alright, so as far as things went, it all began rolling downhill in July of 2020. June was great. We had gone on a little getaway with our son and his friend. They hung out, we had fun together, and the sex was good. July came around, and we were having shoe spats over stupid little things. Her not interested in intimacy. I'd be interested in her day, but she would show no interest in mine. Extended times in the bathroom as well as baths all the time. And yet she wanted to complain that we didn't spend time together. July passed like this. August got more strained, and she even tried to act like things were all right. She showed me lingerie and said it was going to be for my birthday. My birthday came around, and she bought me a couple of records, but nothing. I had a long day at work, and she did too, supposedly, so we just ended up cooking and chilling together. I figured it was a weekday, so it was whatever. She offered sex, but she didn't really seem there. Eventually, in September, we had a few big fights, one of which she asked to have some time to herself. I thought this was suspect, and I was distraught as I felt our marriage was crumbling. I was right. I took the dogs and left to stay with my brother and family for the night. The next day, I came home in the afternoon. She had said she wanted to go out with her friends before I got there, and I never stopped her from being with her friends. I got home around 12, she got home at 6. I saw her and told her I was happy to see her. She mumbled the month was terrible and that week was especially so. She wasn't kissing me, she was rude and snide and straight up cruel. I was asking her to talk to me, to tell me what was going on. I noticed things weren't right, and I wanted us to be okay and acquaintances. Now, a really good friend saw me at work and showed concern. I explained to him how I loved my wife. We had been together for 8.5 years and married for 1.5 years at that point, and I didn't know what to do. He recommended marriage counseling and said he had been through something like this. He suggested I get the 5 love languages and another one I can't think of at the moment. I read up immediately. I came to the realization that I had been prioritizing in my work. I own my own business with my brother because we had been overloaded since COVID, and business had been booming. But nevertheless, I never stopped trying to love her or be intimate in conversations and physically. But she had dropped off. The very same day I came home, she was sick, so I took care of her. The next morning, as she was getting ready, I calmly and lovingly asked if we could talk a bit before she left. I told her everything I had learned from the book I read, the whole damn thing the night before, and that I had felt that I had been inattentive, that I loved her, and that we should go to marriage counseling and try to fix what we have because we love each other, and we have our son. Something I said must have triggered something in her because she broke down crying and began to repeat that I was going to hate her eventually. After telling her to just be honest with me, she admitted that she had cheated on me the past weekend when she said she was going to be with her friends. I was in shock, blown away. But I loved my wife, I loved my marriage, and I loved my son. So like a fool, I told her that it was okay and that I could forgive her, but that she had to completely come clean about all of it. She then clammed up, no names, no information. She just said that she had been talking to the affair partner since July and carried on an emotional affair until that day in September. How could I believe her? I didn't. I told her that she had made a joke of our marriage and our vows. This was on a Thursday. I tried to have a discussion with her that night, but she refused and gave me little. She said she had never agreed to talk about things but that she had told the affair partner that she had told me about them. Friday rolled around, and it was the same. I was dry heaving, I hadn't slept, and I felt crappy, angry, and destroyed inside. Eventually, Saturday came, and my brother, having seen the wreck that I was, told me to stay home and handle what was going on. She got up, went to work out, and all the while, I was a wreck. I called my father, who had been the cheater in his marriage, but my mother and him worked it out and have had a fantastic marriage for 38 years now. I asked him for advice. He told me it wasn't a mistake. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she needed to make a choice. If she didn't, that would tell me everything I needed to know. I got myself together because I was a wreck. I cleaned the house and made sure my son was all taken care of. Then I went down to our apartment gym and told her that she needed to come and talk to me once she was done. Half an hour later, she came up, and I calmly told her that she needed to choose our family and our marriage or the affair partner. I don't know is all I got, and she asked for a little time. I agreed on the basis that she neither contacted nor saw him. She agreed and went running for 2 hours. I could see where she was on a nap. She came back finally, noticed that I had cleaned the apartment, and cried. I asked her what she had chosen, and again it was a slew of I don't knows. I pressed, and she said it was over. I said okay, and although I was crying, I grabbed a duffel bag and filled it with some clothing. She was crying because I was actually leaving. I kissed my son and told him that I was going to stay at his uncle's for a while. He was distracted by video games, and he was okay. I told her I would be back in the morning for the rest of my stuff, and I bailed. The next morning, I got there at like 6 o'clock. I immediately grabbed garbage bags and walked into our bedroom and into the bathroom and closet and started loading everything that was mine into them. She sat up in bed with tears and just watched me. She asked what I was doing, and I told her that she had made her decision, and she started sobbing. My heart was broken, but it also wanted my wife again. Like a fool, I got into bed with her and held her and kissed her for half an hour. I told her it didn't have to be this way, but that she had to come clean. Silence. So, I was furious, and I yelled at her, saying that all of this was for nothing. I bagged my stuff and told her that my father and brother were at the cafe 5 minutes away, waiting for my call to come and help me get the heavy stuff. By this time, it was 11 in the morning, and I had bagged everything. She asked what we would tell our son. I went and woke him up and gave him a sham of an excuse about communication breaking down. She said she didn't want to see my family but not to blame her because she was ashamed. She took our son to go shopping, and I could tell he was a little messed up and confused. I called my dad and brother, and they came over. We grabbed my 3 TVs, all of the electronics that I had gotten to make our place smart. Of course, I left my son all of his cool stuff. I love him, and none of this was his fault. And before I left, she texted me not to go and to wait for her and our son. I waited. The place looked like it had been robbed. She walked in and she told me not to go and that our son had knocked over a display in anger and said he wished that we could still be a family. I gave her a face that said nothing good. And then I told her that, of course, he does, and it was what I wanted. But what the hell did she want? Again with the I don't knows. I said that there wasn't any point for me to stay. I made her tell her parents because they would be furious if they had to find out from our son. The week coming up was the first week of October, and I tried to keep our son on a schedule. I showed up to take him to school and make him breakfast, but I was also taking him to his grandparents' house some mornings when I had to show up early at work. They asked what was going on, and I dumped everything on them. I told them I wanted us to fix things, but that she was sticking to her dumb I don't knows. Her dad was angry and sad for me since we had come to love and respect each other. She was texting me about how she hated herself and that she couldn't believe she did all of this. All the while, she was still talking to the affair partner. She even went to ask if we could get back together, and I told her that she knew what she had to do if she wanted me back. I picked up my son from practice during that week and brought him home. He wanted to show me something, and I agreed because I love him. We hung out for an hour in his room. I came out to the living room, and she was a wreck. She asked me to sit down with her, and she got close to me and wrapped her arms around me. I almost gave in, and so I stood up and said that I wasn't going to do this if she was still talking or having anything to do with this guy. She said she ended it, so I sat down and I held her. We even kissed a little, and I touched her. But then the phone rang, a different ring, and I could tell she was panicking inside. She said he had been calling all day since she ended it. I looked her in the eyes and asked her to show me that she ended it. She started crying and refused. I told her again if she wanted me, she knew what she had to do. Throughout the week, I was still coming back to take my son to school and even making meals to put into the fridge for him. She wasn't doing laundry, and I had to force myself not to do it for her. But I noticed that my son's sheets were filthy and that he stank from not showering. I had to scold her because she wasn't taking care of him. That weekend, her friends wanted to take her to the Renaissance Fair, and I was floored by how she was playing all good. She asked if I could be there for our son just for a couple of hours. I said yes because I wanted time with him. But even I knew that I wasn't really ready for that. I agreed anyway. I showed up after work to pick him up from his friend's house, and 4 other boys walked out and jumped in my car. Apparently, it was a sleepover. I was furious, not at him but at her. I called her, and she answered and realized that I was going to leave if she didn't get back. It took 3 hours for her to get back, and she was acting all pissy about it. She had the gall to say that she shouldn't have to feel bad about celebrating her birthday with her friend. And I told her that she should feel bad because of all that was going on and that she had taken advantage, and this was never going to happen again. She cried and said, "What am I only supposed to be a mother?" I didn't even say anything to that, but yes, you had chosen this before I even came into the picture. We talked a little more, and she even invited me to stay, to sleep in the same bed and be together. I said no, and I left. My son seemed sad. I kept going to and from, even though it was draining me emotionally and draining my bank account because I was staying 45 minutes away. Her parents only knew what I had told them because she had been dodging them too. It was the week of the 25th of October, my ex's birthday week, and it had been weird. And I was shamefully doing the pick-me dance. It was Monday, and I was sending sweet video messages, and she was being nonchalant about it all. I went in the morning to take care of our son and take him to school, and then I did what I did on her birthday week. I started with a small gift to begin working my way up. I dusted off a photo of us three in a pumpkin patch when we first got together. It was a beautiful picture. I was about to leave when I got this itch inside of me. I don't know what the hell provoked me, but I started snooping. I found a new shoebox, opened it, and there was a new vibrator, new dildo, and new butt plugs. I threw all of our toys out when I left. She even kept the packaging. And the postmarks were dated the following day that I had left, and they even had a gift message with the prick's name. And then I noticed a letter inside this shoebox. And it was from a woman but with the same last name of the affair partner's other gift message. I opened it and saw a photo of a family, 2 little boys, an infant, a dog, and a man and a woman. Along with it was a letter telling my ex that she had ruined her marriage, that she could keep the affair partner, and that she had found out because of the toys he had sent her. I took photos and went straight to her parents and explained what I had found out.
Her dad gave me the same advice that you all gave me. Get a lawyer, get all my ducks in a row, and then file.
I did that very day. I gave her the paperwork when it arrived a few days later, and for months we sat on it. Soccer games, a few intimate nights.
I wouldn't dare have sex with her, though it was there. Eventually, it came to one soccer game where she saw it. It wasn't exactly my best, and I prodded until she told me whether she was dating, and she said she was. I turned in all the paperwork that week. Update: yesterday, I had a long-awaited talk with my son. I hadn't heard anything substantial from him since his last birthday, and it's been killing me. But again, I already know how teens operate, and I'm sure dealing with his mom's annoying boyfriend along with middle school ending and going into high school has got to be a lot for him to deal with. Honestly, I was so excited that he had finally picked up the phone, and we had a pleasant conversation. It took a second of telling him what I was up to all this time, building a house, our corgi getting older, and as always, our love for video games brought him out of his shell. He's high-ranking in Rocket League and has been invited to a tournament with pros that is going to be streamed on Twitch, and I'm so excited for him. He said he'll send me the link and that we should keep talking. I take it as a small victory that he still thinks of me as dad, and I'm honored and filled with joy to hear such things from his now entirely changed voice. It was hours after the afterglow of speaking with him that my heart started feeling it again. It was more of a dull pain, just aching deep to the core of me.
It ached and irritated me to the point where I hardly slept last night. My father noticed my demeanor and asked what was bothering me, and at first, I couldn't really put it into words. But the second time he asked, it just poured out of me. Though I feel sheer happiness that I have my son still there and I can be a part of his life in whatever fashion he wants, the weight and pain are still there enough to make my mind still want to know why. I know that the reason really doesn't matter at this point, nor would it really bring me any solace. Everything is done and finished with. But I suppose even 2 years down the road, it's still raw and aching. My feelings of love and adoration, let alone pride in being my son's dad, as well as how proud I am of him, are so tied into the love I also had for my ex, which now only serves as a painful reminder each time I interact with him. My father, a cheater in his own time but made his amends and continues to do so to this day, told me this, though I can't say that I know what you're feeling coming from this side of your situation. You may need to ask yourself if the pain of all this and sorrow that follows is worth it for your mental health and general well-being to go on this way. I know that you love him with all your being, and that there is great joy in the time you share, but it's all followed by a day or two of recovery for you. I'm not telling you to quit on him because if it were me trying to be there for you, I'd never give up. But maybe you need to let go of it all. You gave all of yourself, and I haven't seen you happy like you are now in a long time. But I can see the toll that it takes on you, with your feelings spidered as they are in both your love for your son and the pain you clearly still feel from how you were betrayed. I know that he is operating as a father who is watching his son struggle, and seeing visible pain on my face is the last thing he would ever want. Knowing the lengths of his military training that taught him to be able to distance and look at as many perspectives as possible. I'm taking it as something like him trying to give me sound advice. I'm certain he doesn't mean to simply drop and disappear from my son's life, but maybe just to remain outside of it all. Maybe he just wants to save me from the pain that still infects my heart. Just airing out my thoughts, I suppose. My best wishes to those hurting right now. Stay strong and keep positive for those who are healing.
OP, here are my thoughts on the situation. Your wife was never really into the marriage. My personal thought on all of this is she simply isn't marriage material at this point. Maybe someday she will grow up and become such a person, but for now, she simply isn't fit to be a parent or a spouse. However, and this is important, it's not your concern, at least the relationship part. You do need to keep an eye on her co-parenting skills. It appears she is not up to the task. You may eventually find she is dumping your kid off with whoever will take him while she has her fun. She also may bring in a series of new friends around your son. None of that is acceptable. My recommendation is to try and negotiate more time with your son, but make it scheduled time and not just, hey, can you take him today? You will eventually need your own free time for dating and eventually a relationship. Just be sure to take it slowly. In the end, remember that this is a flaw in her and really has nothing to do with you. She has destroyed 2 families. You did everything you could do to prevent it, but it was her choice and she made it. Grieve, then move on. Thanks for taking the time to listen to today's story. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and comment below on what your thoughts are on today's story. Take care, everyone.